Hi there, I'm Nicole. Welcome back to Not Another Budget. And on this channel, I'm attempting to cash budget my way out of debt, fix several years of financial misbehaviour, and hopefully today deliver you a monthly budget for May wherein everything just is a little bit more smoother and a real contrast to April, because April's budget and trying to work that out was a little bit of a nightmare. Now, full disclosure, I have forgotten my glasses and I've done my kind of teaching day, so to speak, at work. So I'm going to try my best to struggle through this as best I can, but it's going to be a different type of struggle. It's a physical one more than a maths one. So I have my coffee, I've got my water, I've got my calculator, and in my last video, I did say I've got some changes to make to my budget. Do you want me to do these with you and I talk about it while I do it and then go, hey, this is the budget, or do you want me to go away, do them, and then come back and have a chat and tell you what's going on and what I've done? And the verdict from the comments was no, would prefer a longer budgeting style video where you go through and make your changes and have a chat, and we kind of go with you on the journey to do this. I have had to pre-populate some things already because you're asking way too much of me organisationally to just like do that off of my head, but I will take you through and go through and do that in a bit. Like, we'll get around to it. First of all, guys, pull up a coffee, have yourselves a drink while you do your own budget, your chores, or whatever it is you're doing while you listen to me on what is probably going to be a longer video. So bottoms up first of all. And then we're going to get down to business. Now, I've decided, and I'll tell you why I've decided to start my budget yesterday, as in Monday, rather than the day I get paid, in a second. But my month for May now is nearly, in fact, it might as well be a 5-week month. And I have done that because yesterday I received the Buy Me a Coffee payout that had grown and accumulated throughout May. And that, between that, the rollover, which I'd safeguarded in my April budget, so I do need to officially close out my April budget and see if there's any extra, but I had kind of shoved that £600, which I was wanting to keep to one side, into a Monzo pot, and then I went and just thought, right, try not to touch this and forget it exists. As a result of that, it actually allowed me to do some things to my May budget that would have, like, pay some bills and get some stuff sorted. And I just thought, actually, it's a Monday, let's start my month. So May for me is a 5-week month, starting on Monday the 28th of April and ending on Sunday the 30th of May. And it's also a month where there is a lot going on, similar to April, but it's a different type of going on. There's some elements of DIY throughout the month, so potentially this upcoming bank holiday weekend and also this half-term period down here. Now, for me, there's possibly not going to be a financial impact, certainly not this weekend. This is more moving around of furniture and having a good sort out. If there is a financial impact, it's going to come at the end of the month, and I'll make that decision about whether I want to do that or not closer to the time. But that is also why I've got to do a tweak to the budget for this coming week at least. But it also means that I've got to have reached a certain amount of organisation and listing and sorting with my Vinted side of what I'm doing to earn and generate an extra £5,000 worth of income throughout the course of this week. Now, I am still waiting on the confirmation from my dad that he's happy to sacrifice one of his weekend days to come in and do this, but I am at the minute. Yesterday was the exception because first day back at work, it took it out at me, and it was a very phased return as well, so that's a worrying sign, but hey, it's okay. We knew I wasn't going back in the full state of health, and therefore it's kind of I'm back because I have to be, not because I'm technically well enough to be. But yeah, okay, we've hashed that ground. That's April's business. I do need to kind of pick that up and keep that going and keep that momentum going and get that clothing pile cleared and then move on to other things as well. So that is that one side of it in terms of how that's going to be affected. And then hopefully once that space is organised and sorted, it will actually make it easier and therefore quicker and more efficient for me to be able to work through those things and get that area sorted. In terms of other things going on throughout the month, I've earmarked 2 car boot weekends, which I would like to try and do. I've certainly got, at the minute, the stuff for the first one and potentially the second one as well. And then obviously we've got the day which is going to contribute to an abnormal kind of spending / finance activity, and that is the Warner Brothers Studio tour. I discussed briefly in my last video the fact that even if all you do is just pay for the petrol down there, for me, that is you're in the hole for £25 to £50 before you started. And it's definitely one where, as I've said previously, and I've hashed this to death, so I hope it's going to be the last time I kind of refer to it in this video. With the benefit of hindsight, would have tried to put money aside for this throughout, but when I booked it, I fully assumed that I would have a student loan payment literally like this weekend just gone, and that would have more than covered the money I would have wanted to spend and take. Obviously, that is now not the case, and when I, yes, I dropped out of my masters a few months ago now, but I was not in the position to go ahead and fill those funds. So we live and we learn for the future, and it's not something that comes around very regularly. The rest of the month, apart from that, looks fairly normal. Commuting to work, so my petrol is going to be a little bit higher. The couple of car boots to get some kind of cash in hand or extra money in for that total. And then if I do anything else social or carpets fitted or anything like that, it's probably going to take place in this half-term window. And to be fair, even if it doesn't, that's not a bad thing, because I'm happy holding off on that for now until like the summer holidays for me. But let's actually go to the week. Now, I don't have a monthly overview page. I go with weekly in this iteration of my budget planner. But what tends to happen is that I do an awful lot of financial activity around when I get paid. I try and structure most of my bills to come out around then, although in the past, as I did with April, I have spread them out, and that's when I'll do, a super big food shop. I'll sort out stuff for the cat. If I do any personal spending, it tends to fall around then as well. And then any debt minimums and things I've tried to structure around this time. But if I bring you first of all to the focus, and talking of focus, can I zoom in? Let us find out. Yeah, it's a bit better. Okay, not much, but we can work with it. I try and give myself a focus for each week. That is because it is really easy for someone like me who can literally hit pop. Wrong word. Who can flip-flop to every kind of idea possible to just keep me on track, particularly because this is a document which I lay my hands on multiple times throughout the week, and therefore I need to do that. Now, originally, I was going to try and refine my savings plans this week. It's not something I'm going to do this week. With the pending possible, hopefully, maybe, fingers crossed, yes, it will, DIY weekend, I need to divert my energy and attention outside of my working hours to sorting, listing, selling, shifting, and getting things like that going. And thank goodness I had that photo bank of stuff that I'd taken on the Sunday, because it meant that I was actually able to go ahead and still, go through and sort out my Vinted last night and get some new things uploaded. With that in mind, working through my Vinted piles has kind of become the priority for this week, and the month as well is running from the 28th to the 4th, and that is this week's budget, literally a Monday to Sunday jobby. And that is kind of linked to DIY, but I was thinking this through, especially when I did my last video about tracking kind of the £5,000. And thank you so much for your response to that video, by the way. It was kind of really lovely to see and get your takes in it. I've had a rather couple of ambitious estimations, shall we say, about how much I get for the clothing, and if I get those ambitious estimations, I'll be very, very happy. But I would say that I think that, and this is just me thinking, I've got no data or anything to back this up, that the quicker I can get that cash in, the less of a need I will have for it to go to the other miscellaneous smaller things. And actually, the more of an opportunity I will feel I have to kind of say take 20, 25, 30, 50% of it and shove it immediately into savings or immediately into debt. While it's kind of trickling in at kind of anywhere from £1 to £20 a day, while it has been needed to be used, you kind of like almost lose track of the fact that it's come in. I mean, 196 doesn't even get you a coffee in either dollars, pounds, or euros. So I think once we really start to get the ball rolling and those numbers and everything come in regularly, and that is obviously dependent on me doing the work for that, like I've said, it will make it easier to really start to action that from a debt and savings perspective. What I think has happened now, though, is between the Buy Me a Coffee payment and the rollover, it has done what it's needed to do for me for May, even with it being a 5-week month, and I'm going to take you through that for now. So my wages were actually £1,512.04, but we're going to ignore the 4p because that is just going to sit there. The rollover itself was £600, and I've added in there the Buy Me a Coffee and a Vinted payout. So therefore, the grand total for the Buy Me Coffee and Vinted payout was £585.45. Now, with Buy Me a Coffee, the amount in my account registers as dollars, regardless of what currency you have paid with. That then for Buy Me a Coffee take their fees, and then I get paid in pounds based on the conversion rate on the day. So if you pay, for example, £10, that amount will get converted and appear as $10. Buy Me a Coffee then take their fee, whatever their fee is, certainly less than YouTube, and then I get paid on the day based on the conversion rate for the dollar against the pound. So for perspective, I received total payments, and I won't say who's paid what or anything like that, but the total amount I got in Buy Me a Coffee donations throughout April was $824 before fees and before conversion was applied. And after conversion and fees were applied, I walked away with £559.15. And that was jaw-droppingly amazing. And amazing is an overused, underwhelming word, and I genuinely have no words apart from just thank you to everyone who was like, yeah, don't worry, we've got you. And the generosity of my community and the budgeting community as a whole throughout April and throughout March just took my breath away, and it really wholeheartedly means a lot. And that is not just to the people who have financially put their hands in their pockets during a time of, let's face it, globally financially it's not great, but to the people who sat and were like, yeah, we'll watch your videos and we won't skip the ads, or who found me and have then gone back and kind of watched some of my back catalogue, or who have recently subscribed. And the wonderful thing about YouTube is that I do get to see all of that data and all of that information in terms of your X amount of subscribers are from here, X amount of subscribers watch you this way, X amount of subscribers found you this way. So genuinely thank you, because all of those avenues and sources mean that those who have watched, regardless of whether they've donated financially, have all led to a really, really strong monetization payout that will be coming to me in May. I think it's going to be my second best ever, and that's just on the strength of 1 month. It's not a build up of multiple months in the way that it sometimes can be, and this of course is making a massive difference to how my month is starting. So genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And even in a way as well, thank you feels pretty, like, it doesn't feel enough. But there we go. Like, I'm going to continue to try and deliver content that you're enjoying and you're loving. And I'm even going to show you Mr. Bowie. Oh, sorry, sweetie. You can see a paw. You've actually just farted. You're farting right now. You're meant to be showing the people love and gratitude because they have made it possible for us to pay for like 3 months worth of medications, and you're farting on my desk. He says thank you and I say thank you. We're going to talk about the medications in a bit. We'll get there. What I will do, because obviously I do still need to close out my April, which is kind of the issue where you make a decision to change something. There is the possibility of more of a rollover that can come in. In that case, what I'll do is I'll pop it down in other. But at the minute, in terms of income for May, I keep wanting to say March. And I think that's because I genuinely can't believe that we are a quarter or a third of the way done. No, my darling. No, you're fine. Your farts stink. Right, so we're up to a combined income so far of May of £2,697.45, and that is worlds above, worlds different to April. However, we can't spend it all at once. I can't spend it all at once because obviously we do have this. It's not as big of an unknown as a house move, but we do have the unknown of, I don't know whether I'm getting full pay or half pay for May. It looks like I'm getting full pay based on how things have been. Do excuse me if I'm tentatively pessimistic and don't think that's going to be the case. Now, in terms of what I went ahead and did yesterday with the £1,185.45, the £1,512 isn't coming in until tomorrow on the day you watch this. That £1,512 will go towards my rent and my council tax, car tax, etc., and other bills that are due to come out later on in the month. What I did yesterday was I was due to, anyway, out of this rollover. Where are you off to? Okay, fine. Was due to, anyway, to go ahead and pay my April Wi-Fi. My bank account, Monzo, not sponsored, not affiliated, blah, blah, blah. All of that kind of disclaimer jazz. Cannot officially recommend. Do I like them? Yes, there we go. Occasionally do very, very good cashback offers, and you get my internet from a certain provider, which again, I won't recommend or anything like that. And every so often, they do 50% cashback if you quote unquote purchase from them. Well, they count a purchase as a payment made to that company within a certain time frame. So I paid my May Wi-Fi, my April Wi-Fi, and got 50% back. So essentially got one of the months free. So that cashback is pending and approved. It's just got to pay into my account, and I therefore made a £70 payment. Yeah, and half of it will be coming back to me, so well worth doing. My mobile as well, I did it at £16. My car insurance was £86. That has just gone up because my mileage, I've had to tweak my mileage, and obviously you get various kind of charges and stuff every time you tweak things, and obviously you also update them from a health perspective as well. And we've also had the annual price increase because of course we have. So that has gone up. It's fine considering I have no claims bonuses on there. That's not awful. Because don't get pranged in your car when it's not your fault, basically, guys, and then wait for 5 years for it to sort itself out. Therefore, that's a really good start. In terms of subscriptions, there is no Spotify. One that I have stubbornly fought to keep for a while. There is no Spotify because I had a bit of a temper tantrum. I paid for Spotify Premium using a Spotify Premium gift card, which I got cash back on. It did not register the payment as a premium payment, despite the fact that I paid for the gift card and got it sorted. When I asked for help, it tried to direct me back to the original supplier, who were like, we don't know. You've got a gift card, it's been charged by Spotify. We don't know why they're not applying them to your account. I threw a temper tantrum, and I am not going with Spotify. I'm going to give YouTube Music a try. Now, fair play. Since I last tried them, they have changed the way they set up their playlist. The algorithm seems to be a bit more what I would look for. It's much more intuitive, and as it's a platform I'm already paying for, I'm going to give it a go. That is the extent of me being brave and trying new things, guys. Amazon Prime is only on there because at the minute it is the most cost-effective place for me to get kind of postage and packing supplies. So even with a membership, there is nowhere local to me where that is an option to get stuff like that, unless I want to kind of go to B&M's, which I don't really. So I may have to do a one-off Amazon kind of purchase for the month, get the things I need, and then go ahead and cancel. I don't mind doing it that way, but I don't shop there enough to make it worth it anymore, me being there. My overall bills, I'd projected it being £1,290. Now, what I think actually is Contents Insurance is coming out on the 10th. Google Storage is coming out on the 16th. This is coming out on the 8th, and my car tax is also going to be the 8th. So I need to shift these to next week. But my total bills for the month at the minute, I think I've got everything. Energy I always come out at the end of the month anyway, just because I try and leave it to the last possible minute because I don't like it. Is £1,290 for the bulk of the week. With the energy, I budget 100, so my bills for the month are creeping up to about £1,400. That is, if you remember way back when, in March I did a video where I talked about rising kind of costs increase and the fact that council tax will be coming back in. That's near enough about right. So yeah, there's that. Next, we come down to savings, and in effect, my rollover is now incorrect because this is where my income is up to. So there will be a certain amount of back budgeting going on. I've put £200 for Warner Brothers. I don't know if this is how much I want to take. I need to cost it up, and it's a job I haven't done because, let's be fair, it has not been a priority with everything that's happened so far. But given the fact that that is happening in 3 weeks' time, it's something that I really do need to look at and think realistically. In terms of how I intend to separate out and sort out the money, in my mind, any money that I do take will, to me, come from the £600 rollover. I have tried to go ahead and think in my mind, right, £559 of it has come from other people, and I've tried to put that towards paying up on those bills and getting that sorted. I've got some debt payments you can see coming up, sorting out some of Bowie's medication, and really starting to make progress and headway there. So for me, I'm trying to clearly, distinctly separate the two, especially because, when you're going to a place like that and you've already got a quote unquote glut of money, it's good to look at. What I'm thinking, and what I've said before, is that I'm going to try and match whatever I want to take in vintage sales between now and then, so that gap is immediately plugged and immediately filled. Obviously, that is coming from overall the £5,000 extra income, but that is what it is. I would also like to restart the 365-day penny challenge. I'm going to do that, I think, out of the extra money that I've received from you guys, and just start to let that build up in the background towards the end of the year. My bank account runs that, and I have the option to go ahead and literally catch up and top up to where I would need to be to kind of fall in line with it on a day-by-day basis, and that is a total of £63.28, so that is happening there. If we then go over to my flexible expenses, and here is where some other stuff is changing as well. So you're moving, you're moving, you're moving, you're moving. There is nothing else that I need to add in from a budget this week to my bills. The cat medication, £200. I have never wanted to beat myself up more, and I literally mean that, because the £175.85 is 3 months worth of medication as a result of pushing for a written prescription where I get his medication online, not direct from the vet. Full perspective, and why do I feel this way? I was paying £200 a month. We're just going to leave that there. And in fact, £15 of that is flea treatment. We're just going to leave that there. Okay. Cat food. I've budgeted in. You may remember that I did quite a large bulk order end of January and we are going way back then, and I'm relying on you having watched a lot more of my videos than you possibly have done. I was bulk ordering his food from a wholesaler because he was having veterinary recommended specialist food, and it was just horrendously expensive to do it any other way than that. But it meant that I was probably shelling out £2 to £250 in just wet food and dry food, nothing else. He's now not having that food. We've looked overall on balance at his health and his well-being. We've made and had to accept the fact that he will not properly consume his medication if he eats, because he just will not eat his normal food that comes with his meds. His meds go in, rather. So we've had to kind of look on balance and go, right, well, we're going to focus on his quality of life and his enjoyment and his happiness, and we're going to give him the old food he used to eat when he was healthy, and he likes it, he enjoys it. It means he's getting his dose of medication. The flip side is that if he does get a build-up of struvite urinary crystals again, that is it. That's the his time has come, and obviously him eating normal food increases the likelihood of that happening. And there was already a likelihood of that happening there. And his time will have come because we can't sedate him because his heart is not strong enough to survive the sedation process. So as a result of that, the lovely little bugger that is my cat, and I say this with full affection, has now left me with 10 boxes, which is a 120 sachet of very, very expensive cat food at £26 a box that he will not eat, that I'm going to try and sell on somewhere, probably eBay, if I can. I know that people will say donate it to your local cat charity. With how much it cost me, I need some of that money back because I'd bought food for him for 3 to 6 months, and I now have to buy more food for him, which is £25, possibly. We'll see. The saga of the cat continues in my budget, but this is going to be a kind of bulk buy. We'll see. Fuel £50 back at work. That's going to appear weekly now, back at work. Household toiletry is going to be a little bit more this month. I held off last month. Even though I had things I needed to get, I held off getting them for as long as I could and literally only replaced the stuff that had absolutely run out and I couldn't eke any more of it. You know, when you like the dish soap for doing your dishes, like you put a little bit of water when there's a bit in at the end just to extend it out. Yeah, there was a lot of that going on. Food, I've budgeted £100 for this week. I am going to try and do an online food order and get a couple of weeks worth of stuff. I'll get his cat food as well there and the toiletries and stuff at the time. So I will have to go through at the back end and work out what those differences are. I've budgeted 100 because I don't know if that's going to be enough. Like there was a lot of eating down of the cupboards and a lot of trying to work out what was the best way to do food in April with everything that was going on. This is the first month where it's kind of been like, yeah, I can set a quote unquote weekly food budget. And also I now need to get it delivered. Basically, I need to take a few things off my load in terms of time and energy. And that is one of the things that I can do a swap for. It will mean higher food prices or a higher food budget though, because I will need to account for the fact that it's getting delivered. So I can't just go and do a £30 food shop, because you have to pay like £7 in a below basket charge and then a £5 for delivery as it is. So, yes, there is that. And then personal spending, at the minute I'm saying £100, possibly for the whole month. If it's a 5-week month though, I might just make that 150. £30 a week. Okay, fine. I try and do between 20 and 30. It depends what's going on. That's 150. If I spend it all this week, that's entirely up to me. Therefore, this whole category here has changed. I'm missing something. I've crossed out DIY because we won't be painting. I still haven't decided whether I'm going to paint or not, but it's nice to know the options there. And again, it will depend on what's going on with the carpets. I need to renew my driver's license because it's been 10 years. That is going to have to be, I don't think I can do it online because I don't have a passport, so that's going to be £14. What else have I got to do? I've got to do my prescription certificate, which I think is still 30. And I know it's silly. It's really nice being able to budget for just little stuff like that. Because yeah, it's nice knowing that the money's there, because those are things. I mean, the driver's license I would have to do as an absolute kind of legal requirement. But it's nice knowing that I can just go ahead and renew that prescription certificate. That's fine. I won't do the full year one. It's, yeah, cash flow makes me nervous. So I've got the prescription certificate. What else have I got to do? There is something else, there is something else, and there is something else. What is that something else? There is something that is there, and I don't have the words for it. So, I'm going to put miscellaneous in 50. That is because I know there is something that I'm forgetting. It's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. I'm going to put £50 in. So you now go to 6 for 9. And if you do find that there's something and you haven't got the exact name for it, just whack it as a miscellaneous, and then when you've actually done it, write it in and go, yeah, this miscellaneous thing we're crossing out, it was actually this thing instead, and reconcile it normally. 649 for that one. Cool. And then my debts, I've got 2 debt minimums that are coming in. One is for £30.81, one is for £17.36. If I can afford to bring in any more, I shall, and I'm aware that I owe you a debt update. Not all of the minimums are sorted, not all of them are organised. I've not worked out my priority order. Just yes. Hence why the Instagram has not been updated and fine-tuned. So £12.90 plus 35 paid there plus 11 there. That's 263.28 down there. That's 649. That's cool. So of the 2,600 and I think it was £37 I'm up to total expenditure if I do absolutely everything here, which to be fair never is always done. I'm up to £2,269.45, which leaves me with money throughout May. Now I will have £50 a week petrol for another 3 weeks. I won't need that much when it's half term. Don't in theory need as much next week either. Food, I will see how much I can get for that £100. The more I can get, the better, because it means that I don't have to budget as much next week for that. I might have to budget in a couple of extras actually, because I will need to pay Dad in cake and biscuits and coffee if he comes and does the house. And I have also accounted for the fact in there that this is probably inflated slightly, and also there is some debt to come in. So I'm not going to go ahead and do the rest of the month just yet. I have got a list of this bill still needs to be included, which I will take in mind as well. And I think the only bill is the gas and electric anyway. But apart from that, what I will then do is once I start plotting and reconciling actually everything in, and I get a more realistic rollover for next week, that's when I'll go ahead and go, hi, this is my budget for next week, and do it that way. I'll still reconcile for 2 weeks worth in one go, and I will at some point this week or next week owe you an overall April overview. But that is how I go through and I tweak my budget. It looks really messy, and sometimes I try and have kind of scrap versions of these to hand or loose blank sheets, but I just don't have any. And with how I'm feeling and the fact that I've got to balance my energy and my workload quite well, I would basically be doing work twice over. So I need to be a bit smarter about how I do that. This is a really good start to the budget itself. I may choose to not take any more money out of my Vinted account this week and do that next week. So therefore all the money that I have come in is just this. Or I may go ahead and do that and run a larger rollover. I'll make that decision and you'll see in a week or so's time. But yeah, that has been me going through. May, like I said, is really busy in a different way. And obviously it is a longer month as well, which thank goodness April was not. But certainly kind of seeing these numbers and seeing the impetus that I've been given, because that is such a massive boost, not only to the 5K challenge, because this number here forms part of it immediately. So fantastic. I nearly swore then. I was very good and didn't. It also kind of means like, yeah, let's keep things going. So when I said that the rollover and the money I had coming in from buying me a coffee would kind of tackle all of May, I very, very much meant it, and it has done, and it's allowed me to go ahead and also set myself up a bit more comfortably as well, because I'm not having to pay £200 a month anymore for cat meds. That's going to be nice. On that note, now I am going to love you and leave you because I do need to crack on with Vinted, and I've got a bit of an active later evening or later afternoon, early evening today. I'm cautiously optimistic about May. We'll see how everything goes. Schools wise, completely different subject. We're not going to talk about that this video. Don't worry, I still have a job. It's all fine. But yeah, I'll talk about kind of how I felt going back and stuff in another video later on this week. I hope you have a fantastic budgeting week wherever you are in the world. I hope your end of April is going smoothly and that you're all feeling ready and set for May. And if you're not, it's absolutely fine. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.